Rain slid down the city's glass towers like tears that didn't know where to fall. Neon lights blurred into streaks of blue and gold as traffic hummed below, restless and unaware. Lily stood by her apartment window, phone pressed to her chest, breathing shallow, counting seconds she couldn't afford to waste. The room behind her was small, tidy, and painfully quiet. Too quiet for someone whose life had just fractured. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed, rising and fading like a reminder that tonight, everyone else's world kept moving. She closed her eyes and tapped the screen. One night, she told herself, just one. Before we go any further, tell me, where are you watching from right now? A city, a town, maybe a place that feels just as lonely some nights. Drop it in the comments, because it still amazes me how one story can travel across the world and land softly in a stranger's heart. Lily hadn't always been this woman, standing alone, making decisions she never imagined she'd face. 2 years earlier, her life had been louder, messier, filled with plans. She'd been a nursing student then, working late shifts at a cafe, saving for an apartment she hoped would someday feel like home. Back then, laughter came easily. Sleep did not. But things changed the night her mother collapsed in their kitchen. The hospital smell still haunted Lily, sterile, sharp, unforgiving. Machines beeping in uneven rhythms. Doctors speaking in careful tones that sounded kind but carried weight. Her mother survived, but the bills didn't show mercy. Insurance covered some. Not enough. Lily dropped out of school to work full-time. Then 2 jobs. Then whatever paid fastest. Grief has a way of shrinking choices. That night, Lily wasn't searching for desire. She was searching for silence. For the warmth of another human presence, if only to remind herself she still existed beyond exhaustion and fear. The app promised discretion. Safety. No strings. She told herself she was in control. The knock came exactly on time. Lily opened the door halfway, chains still latched. A man stood there, tall, composed, rain-darkened coat hanging neatly from broad shoulders. His hair was damp, eyes calm, too calm, she thought, for someone doing this kind of work. Liam, he said gently, offering a small, professional smile. You're Lily? She nodded, unhooked the chain, and stepped aside. Inside, the apartment light softened his features. He glanced around, not with judgment, but curiosity. The kind that lingered on details. A framed photo of Lily and her mother at the beach, a stack of medical bills half hidden under a magazine, a chipped mug on the counter that read "You're doing your best." He noticed everything. He always did. They sat on opposite ends of the couch at first, distance thick between them. Lily's hands trembled as she reached for a glass of water. You don't have to be nervous, Liam said quietly. We can just talk. That wasn't in the script. She frowned slightly. Most people don't come here to talk. Most people, he replied, don't look like they're carrying the weight of the world either. The words landed softly, but they landed. Something inside Lily loosened. Just a fraction. They talked about small things at first. The rain. The city. How quiet her street was after midnight. Liam listened. Not the way people usually do, waiting for their turn to speak, but fully. When Lily mentioned her mother, her voice cracked. She didn't mean it to. It just slipped. She hates that I worry, Lily said, staring at her hands. But I don't know how not to. Liam leaned forward slightly. Loving someone will do that to you. There was kindness in his tone, not pity. Kindness. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The night unfolded differently than Lily expected. No rush, no pressure. Just presence. When Liam finally stood to leave, Lily felt something close to relief and something dangerously close to regret. Thank you, she said, surprising herself with how much she meant it. He nodded. You're stronger than you think. After the door closed, Lily sank onto the couch, heart heavy but steady. For the first time in weeks, she slept through the night. She didn't know that this brief encounter, this single, quiet act of human connection, had crossed paths with a life far removed from hers. A life wrapped in boardrooms, headlines, and a secret carefully guarded behind tailored suits and practiced anonymity. And she certainly didn't know that the man she met that night wasn't just an escort passing through her story. He was standing at the edge of a truth that would soon turn both their worlds inside out. Morning light crept through Lily's thin curtains, pale and hesitant, as if unsure whether it was welcome. She woke with a strange calm in her chest, no racing thoughts, no immediate panic. Just quiet. For a few seconds, she lay there listening to the city breathe. A bus sighing at the corner, footsteps on wet pavement, someone laughing far below. Then memory returned. The knock. The conversation. The way a stranger had treated her like a human being instead of a transaction. She sat up slowly, pressing her feet to the cold floor. On the coffee table, the bills were still there. Reality hadn't disappeared overnight. But something inside her had shifted, like a knot loosened just enough to let air through. Lily went to work that afternoon at the cafe, tying her apron with practiced movements. The smell of roasted beans wrapped around her, familiar and grounding. Customers came and went, faces blurring into one another. She smiled when required, nodded when spoken to. But her mind kept drifting back to the night before, to Liam's steady voice, to the way he'd listened without trying to fix anything. Earth to Lily. She blinked and looked up. Grace, her coworker, raised an eyebrow from behind the counter. "You okay? You've been staring at that latte like it owes you money." Lily forced a smile. "Just tired." Grace studied her for a moment, then softened. "You've been tired for months." Lily didn't respond. Some truths felt too big to explain in the space between orders. That evening, after closing, Lily found herself opening the app again. Not to book, but to look. To see if Liam's profile was still there. It was. Simple. Minimal. No flashy promises. Just a name and a calm expression in his photo. Her finger hovered. Then she closed the app. One night, she reminded herself. That was the deal. Across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked the same rain-soaked streets, Liam, real name Ethan, stood barefoot by a wall of glass. The skyline glittered around him, sharp and distant. His phone buzzed on the marble counter behind him, lighting up with missed calls and emails. Board members, assistants, a world demanding his attention. He ignored it. Ethan loosened his tie, jaw tight. He hadn't planned on thinking about Lily again. These nights were supposed to be clean, anonymous. A way to step outside the suffocating expectations that came with being a billionaire CEO whose life was dissected by shareholders and tabloids alike. But something about her had slipped past his defenses. Not her beauty, though she was beautiful in a quiet, unpolished way. It was the exhaustion in her eyes. The way she tried to be brave even when she was breaking. He'd seen that look before. In hospital corridors. In his own reflection years ago. Ethan poured himself a glass of water and finally checked his phone. A message from Michael, his business partner, blinked at the top. "You skipped the meeting. Again. Everything okay?" Ethan typed, erased, then typed again. "Just needed a night to breathe." A pause. Then, "You can't keep disappearing like this." Ethan set the phone down without replying. The following week passed quietly. Lily worked, visited her mother in the hospital, paid what she could toward the bills. Life pressed forward, heavy but manageable. Then, one evening, an envelope appeared under her door. No return address. Her heart jumped as she picked it up, fingers suddenly unsteady. Inside was a simple card. No logo. No explanation. "I hope you're sleeping better. You deserve rest." No name. But she knew. Lily sat on the floor, back against the door, card pressed to her chest. A laugh bubbled up, unexpected and shaky. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't dramatic. It was kind. And it scared her how much that mattered. If you were there in that moment, finding unexpected kindness when you least deserved it, what would you have done? Would you reach out or protect yourself by staying silent? Be honest in the comments. And if words don't come easily, just tap like, sometimes that's enough to say, "I felt that." Days later, Lily ran into trouble. Her mother's condition worsened suddenly. An infection, the doctor said. Treatable, but requiring a longer stay. More costs. More time off work. Lily stood in the hospital hallway, phone pressed to her ear, arguing with billing, tears threatening to spill. "I don't have that kind of money," she whispered fiercely. "I can't just make it appear." She ended the call and slid down the wall, covering her face. The hallway smelled like disinfectant and fear. That was when she saw him. Liam, Ethan, stood at the far end of the corridor, holding a coffee he hadn't touched. He looked just as composed as before, but his eyes widened slightly when they met hers. For a moment, neither of them moved. "I didn't mean to intrude," he said finally, walking closer, voice low. "I was visiting someone." Lily wiped her cheeks quickly, embarrassed. "It's fine. Rough day." He nodded, understanding more than she'd said. "Do you want to sit?" They sat side by side on hard plastic chairs, silence stretching, not awkward, just present. Ethan felt the familiar pull to help, to fix. Money could erase this problem in seconds. A phone call, a signature, but he didn't. Not yet. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't cruelty. It's compassion with a secret attached. And as Lily stared at the floor, unaware of the power sitting inches away from her, Ethan realized this was no longer just a coincidence. It was a test. One that would demand a choice he'd been avoiding for years. The hospital evenings stretched long and thin, the kind of quiet that pressed against the ears. Lily sat with her hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed on the scuffed floor tiles. She could feel Ethan beside her, his presence steady, grounding, but she didn't look at him. Looking might break something fragile she wasn't ready to name. "My mom," she said at last, voice barely above a whisper. "She hates hospitals. Says they make her feel small." Ethan nodded slowly. "My mother used to say the same thing." Lily glanced up, surprised. "Used to?" "She passed away a few years ago." His words were calm, but something tightened in his jaw. "Cancer." "I'm sorry," Lily said instantly. It wasn't polite sympathy. It came from a place that recognized the fear. "So am I," he replied. They sat there, two strangers bound by grief that didn't care about background or bank accounts. Somewhere down the hall, a nurse laughed softly. Life went on, indifferent and relentless. Lily let out a shaky breath. "I feel selfish for being tired," she admitted. "People tell me to be strong, but I don't know how long I can keep doing this." Ethan turned toward her. "Being strong doesn't mean never getting tired. It just means you keep showing up." She swallowed hard. No one had said it like that before. Hours later, after visiting hours ended, Ethan walked Lily to the exit. Outside, the air was cool, carrying the scent of rain and asphalt. The city lights reflected in the puddles like fractured stars. "Thank you," Lily said again, a little embarrassed by how often she found herself saying it to him. "For today." "You don't owe me thanks," he replied gently. "I wanted to be here." That night, Lily lay awake replaying the day. She didn't understand why he kept appearing at the exact moments she felt weakest. It felt too intentional to be coincidence, and yet too gentle to be manipulation. Across town, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse office, jacket draped over the back of a chair. The walls were lined with awards, framed magazine covers bearing his name. Symbols of success that suddenly felt hollow. He stared at the city below, phone heavy in his hand. He could fix this. He had the means, the influence, the power. But revealing who he was would change everything. Lily would look at him differently. Gratitude might turn into obligation. Trust into suspicion. And he couldn't bear to see that in her eyes. Days turned into weeks. Ethan and Lily began crossing paths more often, sometimes by accident, sometimes by choice neither fully acknowledged. Coffee near the hospital. Short walks after her shifts. Conversations that wandered from trivial to painfully honest. Lily told him about dropping out of school, about the dreams she put on hold. Ethan spoke about pressure, expectations, the loneliness of being surrounded by people who wanted something from you. "You ever feel like your life doesn't belong to you?" Lily asked one evening, watching traffic crawl past. All the time, he answered. And for once, it wasn't an exaggeration. Have you ever had someone help you when no one else would? Someone who appeared when you felt invisible? If yes, write yes and tell me their name in the comments. Sometimes gratitude deserves to be spoken, even years later. The turning point came quietly. Lily received a call from the billing office while she was at work. The numbers were higher than before. Much higher. She nodded mechanically, heart sinking, until the words blurred together. Grace noticed immediately.
Hey.
What happened? I don't know what I'm going to do, Lily whispered. I can't keep up. I'm drowning. That night, Lily didn't wait for Ethan to appear. She texted him instead, fingers trembling. Can we talk? He replied within seconds. I'm on my way. They met in a small park near Lily's apartment. Streetlights cast soft halos over empty benches. Lily paced as she spoke, words spilling out. Fear, frustration, shame. I hate that I can't do this on my own, she said, tears streaking her cheeks. I hate needing help. Ethan stepped closer, careful not to crowd her. Needing help doesn't make you weak. But it makes me feel like I'm failing. He hesitated. This was the moment. He could tell her. End the struggle with a single truth. Instead, he said, you're surviving. That's not failure. Lily broke then, shoulders shaking as she cried into his chest. He held her, arms firm and warm, heart pounding, not with desire, but with an overwhelming need to protect. Later, when she'd fallen asleep on her couch, Ethan stood by the door, watching her breathe. His phone buzzed again, this time an urgent message from Michael. We need you tomorrow. Board decision. No excuses. Ethan looked back at Lily, at the worn furniture, the quiet resilience etched into every corner of her life. Tomorrow, he would have to choose which world he belonged to. And whichever choice he made, someone was going to get hurt. Morning came with consequences. Ethan sat at the long glass table in the boardroom, sunlight slicing through floor-to-ceiling windows, casting sharp lines across polished steel and paper. Voices overlapped, numbers, projections, risks, but they blurred into a distant hum. Michael sat across from him, eyes narrowed with concern that edged into frustration. You've missed too many meetings, Michael said quietly, careful to keep his tone professional. Investors are nervous. They don't like mystery. Ethan straightened his cuffs, face composed. The numbers are solid. That's what they care about. They care about you, Michael countered. About stability. About leadership. You can't keep disappearing into whatever this is. Ethan didn't respond, because if he spoke, the truth might spill out, and once spoken, it couldn't be undone. Across the city, Lily stood in the hospital room, holding her mother's hand. The machines beeped steadily, indifferent but reliable. Her mother slept, face pale but peaceful. Lily brushed a strand of gray hair from her forehead, forcing a smile that no one was there to see. I'll figure it out, Lily whispered. I promise. She said it like a vow, like saying it enough times might make it real. That afternoon, Lily received an email from the hospital. Payment due. Final notice. Her chest tightened. The room felt smaller, the air thinner. She thought of Ethan, of how easy it would be to ask for help, even if she didn't know what form that help could take. But fear stopped her. Fear of becoming a burden. Fear of losing the fragile dignity she still clung to. Instead, she did something else. She picked up an extra shift. Then another. Days blurred into exhaustion. Lily's hands shook as she poured coffee, her back aching as she cleaned tables long after closing. She slept in fragments, mind always half awake, calculating numbers she couldn't make work. Ethan noticed immediately. You look exhausted, he said one evening as they walked together, the city glowing softly around them. I'm fine, Lily replied automatically. He stopped walking. You don't have to pretend with me. She hesitated, then sighed. I just need a little more time.
Time.
The one thing Ethan could buy endlessly for others, but not for himself. He watched her walk ahead, shoulders hunched, carrying a weight no one should have to bear alone. The urge to reveal everything clawed at him. To say, I can help, I've always been able to help. But what would that do to what they had? That night, Ethan made a decision. One that felt both right and terrifying. He didn't tell Lily who he was. He helped anyway. Through a foundation tied loosely to his company, anonymous and untraceable, a payment was made. Enough to clear the immediate hospital debt. No name, no expectation. Just relief, quietly delivered. The next morning, Lily got the call. She stood frozen in the cafe's back room, phone pressed to her ear, heart pounding. I don't understand, she said. Are you sure? The billing clerk sounded just as confused. Yes, ma'am. Your balance has been covered. In full. Lily ended the call slowly, hands trembling. Grace stared at her. What happened? It's paid, Lily whispered. All of it. Tears spilled over before she could stop them. Relief crashed into her so hard her knees nearly gave out. She sank onto a crate, laughing and crying at the same time, the sound raw and unfiltered. Later that evening, Lily found Ethan sitting on the familiar park bench. She rushed toward him, breathless. It's gone, she said. The bills. Someone paid them. I don't know who. Ethan's chest tightened, but he kept his expression steady. That's incredible. She searched his face, suspicion flickering for just a second, then fading under gratitude too big to question. I feel like I can breathe again, she said softly. Whoever did it, they saved us. Ethan smiled, a quiet, almost sad curve of his lips. I'm glad. Now it's your turn. Pause for a moment. Think of one small good thing you've done recently, even if no one noticed. Share it in the comments so others remember that kindness doesn't need an audience. Your story might be the light someone else is searching for tonight. The days that followed were lighter. Lily laughed more, slept longer. She brought fresh flowers to her mother's room, humming softly as she arranged them. Hope crept back into her life, not loudly, not dramatically, but gently, like dawn. But secrets have weight, and Ethan felt his growing heavier by the hour. Michael confronted him again, this time without patience. There's talk, he said bluntly, about transparency, about you stepping down if you can't commit fully. Ethan stared at the city skyline beyond the window. And if I don't? Michael exhaled. Then things get ugly. That night, Ethan stood outside Lily's apartment, hand raised to knock. He'd come to tell her everything, to let the truth fall where it may. Before he could, Lily opened the door, smiling. Hey, she said. I was just thinking about you. The words landed like a knife wrapped in silk. Ethan smiled back, heart breaking quietly in his chest, knowing that the longer he waited, the more devastating the truth would become. And somewhere between gratitude and deception, love was beginning to take root, fragile, beautiful, and dangerously close to shattering. The truth has a way of surfacing when no one is ready for it. It happened on an ordinary afternoon, too ordinary to feel dangerous. Lily was on her break at the cafe, scrolling mindlessly through her phone while sipping lukewarm tea. Grace leaned over the counter, eyes wide, excitement buzzing through her voice. Have you seen this? Grace asked, shoving her phone toward Lily. Lily frowned. Seen what? Grace tapped the screen. This guy. Billionaire tech CEO. Apparently, he's some kind of ghost. Never does interviews, barely any public appearances. People are obsessed. Lily barely glanced at first. Then her breath caught. The photo stared back at her with cruel clarity. The same calm eyes. The same composed posture. The same face she'd memorized in moments of quiet vulnerability. Her fingers went numb. No, Lily whispered. Grace laughed lightly. Right? Doesn't he look like someone you'd pass on the street and never guess he owns half the city? Lily couldn't hear her anymore. The world tilted, sound draining away as if someone had pulled a plug. The name beneath the headline blurred, but she didn't need it. She already knew. Ethan. The escort. The man who listened. The stranger who held her while she cried. A billionaire CEO. Her stomach churned violently. Memories replayed with new meaning. The anonymous payment. The careful words. The hesitation every time she spoke about money. The way he never flinched at hospital bills, never seemed afraid of scarcity. Lily stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. "Hey, are you okay?" Grace asked. "I need air," Lily said, already walking away. Outside, the city felt louder, harsher. Cars honked. People laughed. Life went on, indifferent to the way Lily's heart was splintering inside her chest. She felt foolish, exposed, angry. Every moment of kindness suddenly felt tainted by deception. How much of it was real? Was I a charity case? A social experiment? Her phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. "Are you free tonight?" Lily stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. "We need to talk." They met at the same park where she'd once broken down in his arms. The streetlights flickered on as dusk settled, casting long shadows that felt heavier than before. Ethan arrived smiling, until he saw her face. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern immediate. Lily didn't answer. She held up her phone, screen glowing between them. The article, the photo, the truth. His smile vanished. For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. "You lied to me," Lily said, voice trembling, not loud, but razor sharp. "Every day, every conversation." Ethan swallowed. "Lily, don't," she snapped, tears pooling despite her anger. "Don't explain it away. You watched me struggle. You listened to me cry about money, about my mom, while sitting on a fortune that could have fixed everything in a heartbeat." "I wanted to help," he said quietly. "But I didn't want to change how you saw me." Her laugh was bitter. "You already did. You let me trust you under false pretenses." Silence stretched between them, thick and painful. "I never meant to hurt you," Ethan said finally. "What we had, it was real to me." "Was it?" Lily shot back. "Or was I just interesting?" The words cut deep. Ethan flinched. "If that moment hit you hard, pause for a second and let yourself feel it. Leave a red heart in the comments. Sometimes one small symbol can say what our hearts don't know how to put into words." Lily stepped back, wiping her cheeks angrily. "I can't do this. I won't be someone's secret, or their project." She turned and walked away, footsteps quick, shoulders rigid. Ethan didn't follow. That night, Lily cried harder than she had in months, not from fear this time, but from betrayal. Trust, once cracked, doesn't break cleanly. It shatters unevenly, leaving sharp edges behind. Across the city, Ethan sat alone in his penthouse, lights off, skyline glowing coldly beyond the glass. He ignored the buzzing phone, the incoming calls from Michael, the world demanding answers. For the first time in his life, money couldn't fix what he'd broken. Days passed, then weeks. Lily avoided the park, avoided places they'd been together. She focused on her mother, on work, on rebuilding something solid from the wreckage. But no matter how hard she tried, memories crept in. His quiet voice, his steady presence, the way he'd made her feel seen. Ethan respected her silence, even though it nearly destroyed him. He sent no messages, offered no explanations she hadn't asked for. Until one evening, Lily received a letter. Handwritten. No logo. No wealth behind it, just ink and truth. "I don't expect forgiveness. I only want you to know that loving you changed me. If staying away is what you need, I will. But if there's even a chance you'd hear me, not as a CEO, not as a lie, but as a man, I'll be waiting." Her hands shook as she folded the letter. Forgiveness is never simple. And Lily stood at the edge of a choice that would define who she became next. The letter stayed on Lily's nightstand for 3 days. She didn't open it again. She didn't throw it away either. It sat there, quietly heavy, like a truth that refused to be ignored. Every morning, she saw it while reaching for her phone. Every night, it was the last thing her eyes landed on before sleep. Forgiveness, she was learning, wasn't a feeling. It was a decision that demanded courage she wasn't sure she had. Her mother was doing better, stronger, sitting up now, making jokes with the nurses. One afternoon, as Lily helped her adjust the blanket, her mother studied her closely. "You've been quieter," she said gently. "That's usually when you're hurting." Lily tried to smile.
Failed.
She pulled a chair closer and Saturday, what would you do? She asked softly. If someone helped you, but lied about who they were? Her mother considered this, eyes drifting to the window where sunlight spilled across the floor. Why did they lie? Lily hesitated. Because they were afraid. Her mother nodded slowly. Fear makes fools of good people. The words settled into Lily's chest, warm and unsettling. That night, Lily finally unfolded the letter again. She read it slowly this time, not searching for excuses, but for truth. There was no defense in his words. No attempt to justify the lie. Just accountability. And restraint. If staying away is what you need, I will. He hadn't chased her. Hadn't tried to buy forgiveness. He'd given her something rare.
A choice.
Across the city, Ethan sat in his office long after everyone else had gone home. The building was silent, lights dimmed, the weight of solitude pressing in. He stared at the framed photos on his desk, business milestones, awards, moments the world celebrated. None of them mattered now. Michael had been blunt earlier that day. You've changed, he said. And whether that's good or bad depends on what you do next. Ethan knew exactly what he needed to do. He stopped hiding. The next morning, headlines broke, not about profits or acquisitions, but about transparency. Ethan Hale, Billionaire CEO, announced a leave of absence. No vague excuses. No spin. Just a statement. To become the man I should have been long before success found me. The media exploded. Analysts speculated. Investors panicked. Ethan didn't care. That evening, Lily found him, where he said he'd be waiting. The park was nearly empty, trees swaying softly in the breeze. Ethan sat on the bench, hands clasped, staring straight ahead. He didn't look up when she approached, as if afraid she might disappear if he did. I read your letter, Lily said. He inhaled sharply, then turned. Hope flickered in his eyes, fragile and cautious. Thank you for coming. I'm not here to pretend everything's okay, she said quickly. Because it's not. I know, he replied. I don't expect it to be. She stood in front of him, arms crossed, heart pounding. You took my choice away when you lied. You decided what I could handle instead of trusting me with the truth. Ethan nodded. That was wrong. And I'm sorry for the lie and for underestimating you. Silence stretched. Be honest, Lily said, voice wavering. If I hadn't found out, how long would you have kept pretending? He didn't hesitate, until it destroyed us both. And that's the part one hates most. Her eyes burned. The truth hurt, but it also felt clean. Be honest with yourself for a moment, Lily continued, voice softer now. Could you forgive someone who did that to you? Pause here. Could you forgive after a lie born from fear, not malice? Type forgive if you could, or never if that kind of wound would break you too deeply. Ethan stood slowly, closing the distance, but stopping just short of touching her. I don't need forgiveness to change, he said quietly. I'm doing that whether you stay or not. That mattered more than any apology. Lily looked at him, really looked. Not at the billionaire, not at the escort, but at the man who had sat beside her in a hospital hallway and said nothing when words would have been cheap. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, she said honestly. His shoulders sagged, but he nodded. That's fair. But, she continued, breath catching, I know I don't want to carry this anger forever. Tears slipped free, uninvited. Ethan stayed still, letting her feel whatever she needed to feel. I need time, Lily said. You can have all of it, he replied. They didn't touch, didn't promise anything. But as Lily walked away, her steps were slower this time. Not running from pain, but walking toward understanding. Behind her, Ethan sat back down, chest tight, but lighter than it had been in months. For the first time, forgiveness felt possible. And possibility was a beginning. Time didn't heal everything, but it softened the sharpest edges. Lily returned to a rhythm that felt almost normal. Work in the mornings. Hospital visits in the afternoons. Evenings spent reading beside her mother's bed while the city outside dimmed into quiet hums and blinking lights. Her mother was recovering steadily now, laughing more, walking short distances, insisting on bad hospital coffee just to feel stubbornly alive. "You look lighter," her mother said one night, squeezing Lily's hand. Not happy, just lighter. Lily smiled faintly. "I think I'm learning how to breathe again." Ethan kept his distance, just as he promised. No messages. No surprise appearances. No grand gestures. What Lily did notice, though, almost against her will, were the changes that echoed quietly around her life. A new nurse wing funded anonymously. A scholarship announced at the local nursing school. The cafe received a donation to help workers with medical emergencies. Ethan was helping, but invisibly this time. And that mattered. One afternoon, Lily ran into Michael outside the hospital. She recognized him from photos. Sharp suit, tired eyes. He looked surprised, then respectful. "You're Lily," he said. "I've heard a lot about you." She stiffened. "From Ethan?" Michael nodded. "He's different now. Quieter. More honest. That doesn't come easy to someone who's been powerful for too long." Lily didn't respond. She wasn't ready to be a symbol of anyone's transformation. Weeks later, Lily found herself back at the park. She hadn't planned it. Her feet just carried her there after a long shift, the sky blushing pink as evening settled in. The bench was empty at first. Then she saw him, Ethan, standing near the trees, hands in his coat pockets, waiting without expectation. He didn't approach.
She did.
"I wanted to see you," Lily said simply. Ethan nodded, careful. "I'm glad." They walked slowly, side by side, speaking about ordinary things. Movies. Food trucks. The way autumn had started sneaking into the air. It felt strange and gentle to rebuild something without pretending the past didn't exist. "I went back to school," Lily said suddenly. Ethan stopped. "You did." She smiled, a real one this time. "Night classes. Nursing. It'll take time, but I want my life back." "I'm proud of you," he said, voice thick with something he didn't try to hide. She met his eyes. "I didn't do it because of you." "I know," he replied softly. "That's why it matters." They sat on the bench as the streetlights flickered on, silence settling comfortably between them. Lily watched people pass, laughing couples, tired parents, strangers carrying stories no one else could see. "You know," she said after a while, "I don't regret meeting you. Even the painful parts." Ethan swallowed. "Neither do I." "I'm not ready to call this forgiveness," she continued, "but I think it's acceptance." He nodded. "That's more than I hoped for." A breeze rustled the trees, carrying the scent of rain and leaves. Lily leaned back, closing her eyes for a moment, feeling the earth solid beneath her. If you believe love still finds a way, through mistakes, through broken trust, comment him. Let's fill this moment with hope. Someone reading right now might need to see that healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means choosing to move forward anyway. Ethan stood when Lily did, offering his hand, not assuming, just offering. She hesitated. Then she took it. Not tightly, not desperately, just enough. Their fingers intertwined briefly, grounding real. When she let go, neither of them rushed to fill the space it left behind. "Whatever happens," Lily said, "I wanted to be honest." "It will be," Ethan promised. "Or it won't be at all." They parted at the edge of the park, walking in opposite directions, hearts steady with something unfamiliar but welcome.
Hope.
Not loud, not guaranteed, but alive. And sometimes, that's enough to change everything. Winter arrived quietly, without drama. The city didn't announce it, just shifted. Breath turned visible. Trees stood bare and honest. People walked a little faster, hands tucked into pockets, guarding warmth the way they guarded hope. Lily passed her first semester exams on a cold Thursday morning. She sat alone on the campus steps afterward, scarf pulled up to her chin, staring at the word passed on her phone like it might disappear if she blinked. She didn't cry. She smiled.
Slowly.
Deeply. The kind of smile that comes from surviving something no one clapped for. That afternoon, she went to the hospital with the news. Her mother was sitting by the window, knitting something uneven and unapologetic.
I did it, Lily said.
Her mother looked up, eyes shining instantly. I never doubted you. Lily laughed softly.
I did.
A lot. That's okay, her mother replied. Courage isn't the absence of doubt. It's moving anyway. Later that evening, Lily walked through the park again. It had become a place of chapters closing and opening. The bench was empty. The trees creaked gently in the wind. She didn't know if Ethan would be there.
He was.
Standing near the same spot, hands in his coat pockets, hair touched by cold air. He looked up when he saw her. Not surprised, not relieved. Just present. I passed, Lily said. Ethan's face lit up, unguarded joy breaking through. I knew you would. She shook her head.
No.
You believed I would. That's different. They walked together, slower than before, comfortable in silence that no longer felt fragile. I've been offered a new role, Ethan said after a while. Same company, less control, more accountability. Lily glanced at him. Is that what you want? He nodded. It's who I need to be. They stopped near the edge of the park, snowflakes beginning to fall, small, hesitant, real. I need to say something, Lily said. He waited. I don't think love fixes everything, she continued. It doesn't erase lies.
Or pain.
Or the past. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly, bracing. But, she said softly, I think it can grow after those things if both people are willing to change. He searched her face, careful not to assume. And, are you willing? Lily took a breath. Cold air filled her lungs, sharp and alive. I am. Slowly. Honestly. Ethan didn't pull her into his arms. Didn't rush the moment. He just smiled. And in that smile was gratitude, humility, and a promise not spoken aloud. They stood there as snow gathered on their coats, two people who had met in the most unlikely way, through loneliness, through a lie, through kindness that didn't ask permission. And somehow, they had found their way back to truth. Before we leave this story behind, if it moved you, don't scroll past quietly. Tap like, not for me, but for Lily, for anyone who carried pain silently and still chose kindness. One small click can be your way of saying I saw you. I felt you. You mattered. Spring would come later, with new challenges, new fears, new chances to fail. But that night, under falling snow, Lily understood something that stayed with her. You don't need to be rescued to be worthy of love. You don't need to be perfect to be chosen. And sometimes, the most powerful redemption isn't in grand gestures. It's in showing up honestly, again and again.
And that was enough.